Hi guys, my name is Annabelle to Horizon Cosplay, and today we're going to be taking a look around my sewing room, office, workroom, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to be giving you a little tour. So let's get started. So guys, we're going to do this tour by doing a full circle of the room, and to begin with, let's start with the back of the door into the room. So this is where I hang all of my current or unfinished projects. So hanging here at the moment we have my Corella coat. I'm just finishing off a couple seams on the inside which are a bit messier than I would like for everyday use. And the other thing we have is my Anna Frozen Fever jacket, which is going to be hand embroidered at some point in the near future, though I'm not going to lie, it might have been up there a couple months already. Next along we have our ginormous TV, which Ben managed to get very cheap on a Boxing Day sale for us to play all of our video games and watch all of our movies on, and it has a pretty decent sound system too. Next to the TV we have all of our game consoles, because being utter nerds we of course have to have a lot of games. Some of my favourite ones we've got here at the moment: Horizon Zero Dawn, Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy. Lots of Final Fantasy, both me and Ben enjoy that. Underneath the TV though is where it gets good, because this is basically where we keep all of our snacks. And of course you've got to have a snack drawer, and we just kind of have a snack basket because it's easier to grab in and out of. Then of course we'll have my dressmaker's dummy, which to be honest kind of moves around throughout the room, or even sometimes into the room next door, because it's movable and that is very handy. At the moment we have my Aurora corset and top on, hopefully to be a skirt and petticoat sometime soon. And next we have what has to be one of my favourite parts of this entire room. I got this little table off Facebook for about £10, and it was filled with sewing supplies, because if you lift it up it has lots of little drawers. So we have all my thread underneath there, a little egg with pin cushions in, pins, chalk, everything I need to do a sewing project is all stored in here, easy and ready to hand, plus the table is pretty good to have a cup of tea off of as well. So then we have my work desk, which has to be my favourite desk ever. It is from IKEA and absolutely huge, which is amazing. We have my nice Genome skyline on top, and on top of that is a little project someone has given me to do, which to be honest I haven't actually completed yet. Along the top here we have the 3D printer that I use to 3D print stuff that's on the Etsy shop. Got a couple of little bronies just sat on top of it that are waiting for cleanup, and underneath those a few games that Ben got for his birthday, which we're going to hopefully play this week. And also a little art box filled with pencils and drawing supplies, so that if I ever need to sketch out a design or something, they're there and ready to hand. So down here we have all of Ben's tech drawers. Probably my favourite one has to be this one, which features a Dremel and a lot of supplies that we really do need to experiment with. And next we have our printer or scanner, or both, with a bunch of paper and supplies like that on top. This honestly doesn't get used too much, but it is so handy to have so that I can test print all of my PDF patterns. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this little piece of cardboard that's sticking out there is what I put down on the desk every time I need to paint something, just so that the desk doesn't get ruined, and I like to store it behind there so that it's subtle and, you know, doesn't get in the way. So these drawers here are all of mine. All of them do have labels on, though most of them are incorrect because I kind of reorganized these a few weeks ago. So the top drawer is all the stationery supplies that I need: rulers, scissors, pens, pencils, an actual drawing tablet that I need to connect to my computer so that I can have a play around with it. The next one down is basic sewing supplies. So we have some elastics, some zippers, some pins, tape measures, all that kind of stuff, and a little bag where I keep all of my old thread that I no longer use because I'm saving it up for a project, or at least that's what I keep telling everyone. After that we have some miscellaneous items here. So we have my reel of boning, some earrings, some random pieces of ribbon and stuff, which to be honest can probably go in a box in the attic because I don't think I'm going to be using any of this anytime soon. The next drawer down is filled with wool embroidery stuff and some tape measures for doing pattern making. The wool embroidery is something that I don't do a lot of, mostly when I'm playing D&D. I'll tend to get it out and do a few stitches, and the tape measures obviously get used quite a lot because I make a lot of patterns. And our final drawer is filled with cross-stitch supplies. I have loved cross-stitch for absolute years, and me and Ben found an absolute thing, if I can get it out here. So we've got 3 of these filled with thread. I've then got a bunch of old stuff that was also filled with thread as well, just not as neatly stored. And at some point I really want to do a giant cross-stitch piece, which is what I'm saving all these for, but also because I want to do some embroidery on my costumes. It's just really handy to have these all around. So now we have Ben's corner desk, and normally there is a chair that sits here, but I've actually just removed it because otherwise I wouldn't be able to turn around and look at you guys. So we have a lovely little mouse pad that we got from Auckland Armageddon, which has superb artwork on it. We have my laptop, which does normally sit here if Ben's desktop happens to be in the other room. We've got a lovely collection of Tolkien and classic books on the bottom shelf, some dice and such on the second one, a bunch of lighters on the third, Why?
Because this is my pyrotechnics.
Your pyrotechnic,
shelf.
Okay, pyrotechnic shelf. So on the top shelf we have the best Warhammer figurines that Ben has ever painted in his life.
This is not including the ridiculously red-nosed dog I bet most of you can see on that top shelf. She did that.
On this side we have a collection of Ben's favourite manga. We've then got some battery and D&D dice drawers that are just screwed to the top there. And then up on the top we have a collection of Disney figurine things that are very collectible and that I utterly love. And also Cards Against Muggles because it's one of our favourite games. And then we have the world's comfiest sofa. Honestly, this thing was an absolute bargain. We got it from a charity shop and it folds out into a king-size bed. And it literally is like sitting on a mattress. It's so comfy. We do put a furry thing on it because the fabric it's made of is a little bit rough, but I have slept on it so many times. I'm very happy with it and I'm very pleased to have it in here. And of course, no nerd's room would be complete without some anime merch. And so we have my good little Rimuru, who's such a good little slime, and he likes to sit on the sofa to keep an eye on everything. So behind me right here we have Ben's ginormous collection of manga along with a bunch of soft toys that me and him have collected throughout our travels, including a few Jellycat collectible ones and a bunch of mini superheroes who are utterly adorable. Then next up, this shelf right here is my D&D shelf, which includes my favourite notebook. This one, which is carved leather with awesome dragons on it, which I have to admit is utterly awesome. Otherwise we have some nice dice and some D&D role-playing books to help guide us through our adventures. The next shelf along is a general craft shelf. Honestly, this has all sorts from epoxy resin to wood glue in. Pretty much if I don't have somewhere to put something, that's where it goes. Next we have my camera and iron shelf. Don't ask me why those two things are together, they just kind of fit. So we have my really good iron that I use for ironing out all my fabrics and the camera bag where the camera that I'm currently filming with normally lives. And next in line we have my costume making bookshelf along with a collection of a couple patterns that I keep out for regular reference. Some of my favourite books here include the, The Evolution of Fashion, which I got in my giant cosplay haul and it's an utter godsend, along with Aries Theatre Costumes in Full Colour. These have to be two of my favourites and I have quite a few others as well. This is also where I store all of my PDF patterns before I've actually trialled them. So I actually have one for Aurora's petticoat right there, which I'm hoping to get done next week. So these two shelves here are mine and Ben's alcohol shelves. This one is for whiskey and this one is for gin. Gin is more or less exclusively for Ben as I'm not much of a gin drinker. Jeez, I couldn't say that, could I? But the whiskey is for me because I do like a good whiskey and coke. And of course we have a couple Highland cows on the whiskey shelf because we recently went to Edinburgh and got a lot of Edinburgh style whiskey. Do you want to explain this one?
Hi guys, this is our button shelf. It is packed with a massive collection of buttons from every colour under the rainbow, from sky blue to emerald green. And they are stuffed in there nearly 3 feet tall. It is ridiculous. Next to that is our 3D printing supplies and miscellaneous items. Generally things like poppers and other things that we use for making pockets and other miscellaneous items on costumes. That is those two shelves.
So this next shelf up here contains a bunch of quilting supplies because I want to make Ben a really nice quilt at some point, though I've been delaying it for a little while, and also some clothes that I'm hoping to recycle into costume pieces. This next shelf contains a bunch of old bed sheets which I'm hoping to either use for mock-ups or recycle into costumes, along with a couple of my favourite DVDs. This next shelf has my 2 pattern boxes on, homemade patterns and shop brought patterns, along with a really old embroidery book that I picked up at a flea market the other day. Oh, and of course we can't forget my collectible British costumes book, which is nearly completely full. I'm just a little bit proud of that. Last but not least, we have a couple of D&D supplies, my grommet press and a really cute elephant I picked up in Thailand, along with some hot chocolate just in case I need an emergency supply. And the last part of our tour is going to end with the top shelf. Firstly, over here we have a massive collection of games, board games, card games, whatever you want. It's up there, we play them a lot, which is why they're semi-accessible, though you need a tall person to access them, but that's why I keep Ben around. We then have a teapot. I'm not really sure why there's a teapot, but I'm pretty sure I picked it up somewhere thinking it was rather cute, and it's just ended up there. There's then some 3D printed shelves, which actually don't contain anything, and a few vintage books, which I really like and will definitely read, you know, when I've read all my other vintage books. And the last 3 things are a bunch of carpentry books that Ben has and keeps around for reference, a Warhammer box, which is filled with so many supplies, I don't even know what Ben is going to do with them, and a really nice pair of shoes, which to be honest I've never actually worn out, but I'm putting them up there just in case I get the opportunity. Well guys, that was the tour of the sewing room. If you enjoyed it, please do leave it a like, and otherwise drop us a comment if you have anything to say. Otherwise, I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!